One of the other big things that is going on this weekend is a reunion night for Utah State men's basketball. A couple different teams are going to be brought together. Members of those teams will be recognized at the Spectrum. And one of those is Troy Rolle, who participated in the 1999-2000 team. And he's going to be there this weekend. And he joins us now in the Full Court Press to reminisce on some of his time with the Aggies back then and what he's doing now. Troy, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Yes, you bet. Yeah, no worries at all.
Hey, first of all, let me ask you, I want to go back to your playing time, or actually even before your playing time at Utah State, and what it was that attracted you to come to USU. If I'm not mistaken, you're from Florida originally. So how did you find your way to Logan, Utah?
Yeah, so basically how that all happened went down as matter of fact, I remember I was in my coach's office in Farrell Davis. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he actually came out to Utah State. This is when I was in Chipola, Florida, basically around the Panhandle there in Marianna, Florida, right in that area. This is the school Marcus Saxon went to. So I'm in the office with my coach, and I said to him, I was like, yeah, I don't know where I'm going to go. He's like, hey, have you ever thought about Utah State? And I was like, and I didn't pay too much. I just kind of shrugged him off. I was like, I just really just shrugged him off and didn't really say anything to him. And so incidentally, after that, Farrell comes up to me and he's like, I took a visit to Utah State. You got to go check it out. I'm like, Utah? I'm like, where the heck is Utah? like, not only that, I've already made a verbal commitment, and I'm having my mom sign the letter of intent for Long Beach State. That's how quick I made up my mind. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to go to Long Beach State because they were going to have a really good team, and I was going to be on the beach. It's going to be nice weather. I'm like, yeah. This is going to be really good, right?
Hard to argue against that,
right. And so Larry calls me up before I send those papers in. It's amazing how this all worked out. Larry and Stacy calls me up and he says, "Hey, I want to come down and visit you." He comes down, visits me. And all of a sudden, we decided to basically have a little chat and all that. And I was like, man, I really don't know where Utah State is. I'm like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, isn't that where they ride around with the dog sled and the furs and all that type of stuff? And he's just chuckling with me, and I'm giving him a hard time too.
That's awesome.
Because I already had my mind made up. And so I said, yeah, why don't you just come down and we talked. We had a great conversation, and his philosophy on basketball really matched where I was trying to go. I needed a coach that was going to push me to that next level because I wanted to be the best player I can be, even though I knew I would butt heads with this man. But I knew that he would push me to that next level, right? And so I came out, took a visit at Utah State, and I saw the Spectrum. I saw Salt Lake, and but what was so funny about this trip is they brought me in at night. Usually they bring you in during the day at night. As we were pulling in the town, there's these large four-legged animals. I was shocked. I was like, wait a minute. I thought we were going to a college. What are these animals doing right on the side of the road as we were pulling in? And to make a long story short, as I pulled in, I saw the Spectrum, and I knew it. I was like, this is it. This is college basketball. And I changed my mind, and it was the best decision a young man could make at that time in his life to kind of gear him where, for his next stages of his life. And so I that's why, Utah is definitely home for me, because regardless, I keep moving away, I keep coming back. And so that's that.
That's awesome. And as you were part of this that Utah State team in those teams, you were an honorable mention. Your first full season playing for Utah State in the Big West, and then your senior year, you were made first team All Big West. What was it like playing in the Big West at that time, which was kind of an underrated conference? There was some pretty good basketball that was played in the Big West at that time.
Yeah, it really was. There wasn't any games that we thought we could just walk in and win. We had to prepare, and I think that's one of the nice things of playing under Stew Morrill is his preparation, his defensive scheme, most of all, that I took out of everything that he taught is basically he was just such a great teacher on defense and how to prepare for teams and yada yada. And I think that's what got us over the hump because, some of those teams, you're not just going to walk in and beat them. We had to be well prepared. And that's one thing that we always could count on is Stew preparation. And so I always tell him that for sure.
This was let me ask it this way. There were some games that you had that were just phenomenal games. You had your career night when you played Cal State Fullerton. You had a couple games where you're over 20 points. What was it about that system that really helped you become that player that you wanted to be, as you talked about earlier?
Well, you got to be mindful. The Stew system is not really my style of play, honestly. This is like the brutal, honest truth. It's like I'm more, I'm such a rhythm player, and that's why I think I averaged, throughout my careers of playing, sports, I've always averaged over 20-something points a game. That's just the type of player. That's just the type of player I was. It was so more rhythm. But with Stew system, it's more of set. It's more of a team, team concept where each player has a responsibility, and we have to respond well to each other, setting screens, coming off of screens, down screens, all this type of stuff has to be kind of in sync. And that's the way his system thrived, right? So I had to actually adapt to that to be able to be effective for the team. I'm used to just coming down where I'm feeling the shot, where I can actually pull up and take the shot. Within Stew's system, it's more like basically you want to make sure we run through our early offense, and not only that, after we do our early offense, we got that motion, or we got our sets that we'll set up into. And so for me, I knew I had to make a change in my game to make it work to play at Utah State on the Stew system. Larry Stacey's system was a little bit different. It was more up and down. It was more, definitely same thing on the defensive end. I think both had very good defensive schemes and all that. But Larry Stacey was more my style, where we were able to get up and down and do certain things that way. But that's the thing with being within Stew's system. And what I've learned is when you're in a system and you're trying to become productive for the team, you really have to buy into the system to get acclimated so that you can use all your gifts to become that player for that team, whatever capacity that may be, And so that's what I did. And that's, I think that's why, part of the reason why we were successful, because we really had a good team. We had other guys on that team that was really good. So,
it's fascinating stuff. Certainly, where you were kind of straddled both coaches that way in their times at Utah State. Again, we're talking to Troy Rolle. He was a first-team All Big West player for Utah State in the 99-2000 season, one of the teams that will be honored this weekend. Had somebody text in and say one of the memories that they had of you playing for Utah State was a monster dunk that you had on a 7-footer from Boise State in the Spectrum. And Do you recall? Are there certain moments in your playing times for Utah State that really stand out to you that you recall everything about that moment as it played out, how it all set up for everything that took place that day?
Yeah, see that dunk, I probably won't forget that one because because it's always being brought up to me about like how it's like the top 50 college greatest dunks on YouTube and all this stuff. But I do that game. That game was like kind of a really pivotal moment for us within this conference. It was the game for us to go undefeated, and we knew Boise State was going to come in and was going to be physical. They were going to try to take us out of our game, and this was their goal. And the guy that was guarding me, he made sure that he was like throwing elbows. He's talking trash to me. And the way this dunk came about is Sean Daniels blocks the shot, and this ball is between me and the defender. I, kind of hit the ball out to in the open court, and I see my man trailing me, and he is hustling, and I'm like, please don't do it, because this is like my final my final game. There's nothing you're gonna do that's gonna stop me. And so I just took off, and next minute, the house is just going crazy, and they called a foul. I wasn't sure if they were going to call the charge or a foul, and then all of a sudden I look over to the ref, and it was a charge, and that was just an awesome moment. And then Bernard just had an awesome game. He was just draining 3-pointers, and it was just great. That was a really fun game, to come out and to win the tournament and go undefeated and to win the conference, and then go undefeated and undefeated in conference and to finish our conference season that way.
Yeah, that your senior year, that team went 28-6, 16-0 in conference play, rolled through the conference tournament, and made it to the NCAA tournament where Utah State hadn't been there had many opportunities to go there at that time. They've had many opportunities since, so you were part of a sea change that was taking place at Utah State. But in that tournament game, you guys faced UConn, and UConn's got great tradition. They've had some great players, but you guys played them pretty tough. What do you remember about that game?
Well, we knew we had the defending champs that year, and so we played our game. But here's a thought. Like, this is one of the things that we all kind of collectively came to a conclusion with is basically at the end of that game, there was Bernard Rock and Tony Brown. If those two just played half their game like they're capable of, we would have beat them. But the following year, Tony redeemed himself, played an awesome game to beat Ohio State and all that good stuff. But that's one of the things we took from that. But we went in knowing that we could match up against anybody, and really we just was that confident, not necessarily cocky at all, but we were just confident in what we were doing. And so I do want to stress this too, because at this time we didn't realize how good we were until we start going on this whole winning streak, and we all of a sudden just start looking around like, hey, we're doing pretty good, but we didn't realize how good we were until that Boise State game, and we won and we went undefeated. It all started to come together like, wow, okay, we could really do something really good here, and that's just how that whole season went. It's like we just had our heads, to the grind, and like just every game we took, every game wasn't really looking at the rankings, but even though we thought we should have been there though, but many of times, but it's all good. But that's just how that season came about.
What do you recall most about the game, the way that it played out, going to the NCAA tournament, being on that stage, and playing the reigning champs?
Oh man, that's like my type of game. I'm like, the bigger the better. I'm like, because you always want to match up against the best because it gives you a chance to see how good you really are. And not only that, it's just the competitive nature that we all have is basically, we wanted to show the nation that we're just as good as anybody out there. And that's what we did. We went out and we competed. A few of our guys didn't compete to their level. If we had that and everybody's on their game, and that's just part of basketball. But the best part of it is that we went in it together, and we all stuck together through that whole process, and that's part. Even though I never got too high on like notoriety and that type of stuff. I'm like, really, what's going to show is when we step on the court and we take care of business, and then from there, everything else is just going to fall into place. That's the type of mindset that we had, that whole season.
We're talking to Troy Rolle, former Utah State men's basketball player of the 99-2000 team. It's going to be recognized coming up this weekend when Utah State takes on Boise State. Interesting that you keep referring to that game. It's going to be a reunion game and a revenge game on this current team's mind, I'm sure, for this weekend. But I think a couple other quick questions that I have for you is if you're comfortable sharing any unique anecdotes or stories about your time playing under Stew Morrill, because he was a guy that became larger than life around here for his time as a head coach with his tremendous success. But as you said, he did have a different personality than Larry Eustace. Any anecdotes you could share about either one of those coaches and your experience with them, behind the scenes kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah. Stew was more, I really had a great relationship with Stew. Like, I understood where he was coming from. I saw his philosophy, his concept about a team unity, all these little things that Stew has within his system, I thought was really neat because I've never really, seen a coach like Stew before. Like the way his mind thinks on, basketball and especially preparation. He's absolutely a genius to me, and I've carried that with me everywhere. Whatever I'm doing, I'm always trying to be prepared for it. And not only that, I look at it as life too, and I do relate sports to life, and especially playing under Stew, which I would not change it for anything in the world because it was just such a great learning experience for me. Just the game, learning the game, in so many different facets because I learned it, with other styles, but never a style like this that I was able to embrace and take on. But Stew's system, helped me with the preparation, and it kind of leaked over into my life, like, even with the ups and downs, the mistakes, the failures and the highs, the success and everything else that comes along with it. It's just being prepared and being ready for those moments. And that's something that I really take from Stew is just that I really get him. Even though he's just a quiet, reserved, he's not like, out there too much, but I just related really well with him, in that way. And I think that's why we had a mutual respect, and I think that's what made our relationship so great is that I just respect what he did and he saw my effort and I think that's why we just gelled well. And from there, Stew just went on to be very successful in, leading his teams on, and that's what I could really appreciate about him.
I think one of my last questions for you is one of the things that we want to do this week as we catch up with a lot of these former Aggie players is to find out what have you done since you left Utah State after your playing time in an Aggie uniform. What's Troy Rolle been up to since then?
Man, oh my goodness. I actually thought I would go on and play, after I got done, I went in to the NBA with the Orlando Magic, went to Detroit Pistons. Matter of fact, I was I was so fortunate. I did my pre-draft workouts with the Atlanta Hawks. That was just an amazing deal there for me to go in and just experience what those guys go through to get selected by a team and all that. So that was really cool. But here's what really started to carry over is when I started to get into like the workforce, because I'm like, man, I got to get a job. Like, what is this? And so this is when reality sets in on me. And so I'm sitting there thinking like, man, so I knew I had to do something. I wanted to be, if I wasn't playing basketball, I wanted to do something that I'm always trying to help people out. And if I'm doing something to help somebody out, I think my life will have some type of fulfillment and meaning to it. And so I jumped right into the medical field. So I wanted to be a PA. So I didn't get accepted into PA school my first year. But incidentally, the Jazz calls me up and say, hey, we're going to bring you in, work you out. I was like, unbelievable opportunity. So I'm like, yes, I will take it. Right. And so I played the summer league with them. After that, I had this feeling like this was the end of my basketball career. I was still in my prime. They put me at a 44-inch vertical while I was there with the Jazz. And I felt like the most healthiest at that time. And I had this feeling like this was it. And after I got done with that, I jumped right into respiratory therapy. And so that's what I've been doing for like 11 years. And after that, I jumped into sales. And so I was working in the medical field. We're doing a lot of sales in that aspect, and I'm still in sales now today, but now more on the financial side with Rapid Financial Solution. And so that's what I do. And and my life has just taken me, places, and I still apply those things that I've learned in sports to what I'm doing now today.
Wow.
I think that's part of my success is that, there were failures in between too. I won't share all the failures though, but I will share the good times. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm fortunate. I'm in a place where I can, do some really good things and get some really good results with my effort. And that's one of the things that taking from Stew's system and from all the coaches that I had experiences with, and especially, here with Utah State, it is effort, because this is what our town is all about, is going out and putting effort on that court to get a result that you want. And if, you lose, at least you could say you put all your effort into it. And so that's what I've been up to.
Well, Troy, it's fascinating stuff. We remember you well when you were at Utah State and opportunities to try to make it into the NBA, but it sounds like you've had some other things that have happened in your life since then, and it sounds like you're well, and look forward to seeing you back up at Utah State on the Spectrum floor coming up this weekend.
Awesome. Yeah, I really do. I appreciate it.
And last thing for me, just do you keep up with some of your former players? Do you keep up with some of those guys? You stay in touch?
Yeah, we do. I'm friends with them, a lot of them on Facebook and all that. You know how it is once you get your life and you get hustling and you got kids and everything else is, in place. It's like, you're just so focused on what you're doing. Sometimes, sometimes people are a little distant, a little bit away, but we still, regardless on how absent we are from each other, as soon as we get together, it is like we haven't skipped a beat. That's just a part of that camaraderie we build, and battling together on the court and all that good stuff. And that's the one thing as players, we miss the most is that the camaraderie that we built with our teammates, and just the laughter and the friendships, being that close with each other. That's the part we miss. But understand the world keeps going around and life keeps going on.
Well, it should be a fun reunion for you and some of those other folks of that 2000 or 99 and 2000 team, and we look forward to seeing you on the court on Saturday night.